Again. Alright. Dang it, now I gotta start all over. Darn. I hate having to restart my recordings because I goofed at some point, but it doesn't matter. So, trying to review for the game, and I've actually noticed, or I've actually been waiting around to review the game for a while. Blah, blah, blah. I've actually been waiting a while to review the game. I've been wanting to watch a lot of other people's reviews, some of the major outlets, see what they say are the pros and cons for the game. Although, I've also noticed a lot of very big glaring omissions in terms of like what this game does better than a lot of the other shooters out there, and it's pretty much going to be the only comparison I'm going to be able to be using here, is that the only other what this game does better in terms of another game that a lot of people will want to compare this to, and that'll just be Destiny. I feel like a lot of people are forgetting that Destiny has about a 1-year head start on this game in terms of how much content there is out there for it. And I also think people forget that while there is exactly a 1-year lead in terms of content that this game doesn't have over Destiny, a lot of Destiny's content has been supplanted by their expansions that they keep releasing, that I don't believe this game is ever going to do that. They're not going to release, for every new expansion this game releases, I don't believe that the previous expansion is going to become obsolete. Destiny has had their story rewritten and retold and reworked. With the Taken King has probably completely and totally changed how the entire game feels and how it's being played. Come on, buddy, you die. Very mighty big explosion. Goodness, stuff like that. There's nothing more satisfying than lighting some dude on fire. You're dead. You should be. Oh, you didn't die. I digress, though. I'm sorry. I'm getting caught up in watching these guys shoot at each other. Some real dynamic stuff like that, where these guys will just start messing with each other. It's really entertaining to watch the Rikers versus the Rioters, or the Rikers versus the Cleaners, and just to see who's going to win in a deathmatch versus them. More often than not, if the Rikers get too close to the Cleaners almost always come out on top, just because the flamethrowers that they wield are too good. They're too powerful. Like, there's nothing else like it in the game. They're the only ones that I think that can use flamethrowers. Maybe that later on in the game we will get a flamethrower, but more often we haven't gotten them yet. But there's no big deal to that. Dang it, I lost my train of thought when I was trying to say. The games like to be compared to Destiny a lot in terms of how it's structured and how it's played. And I think that people forget that Destiny has been gone through so much restructuring in its own way and over the last year that it's probably not the same game at launch that it was when the game first came out. And this game, up to my knowledge and based off everything I've been able to read and just seen and what people have talked about, that this game is most likely isn't going to go through that many drastic of changes, which is a good or bad thing depending on how you look at it. If you're enjoying yourself like I am, if you've taken this game slow and playing this game at a very steady pace and getting to it when you can, instead of rushing through it to get to the end as fast as humanly possible, like some people I know like to do. Those people complain that there's not enough content in the game. For me, there is so much more to do that I haven't gotten to it yet, and I'm eventually going to get to it, but only after playing this game for so long. Character customization, a lot of people like to gripe on it too, but to me it's a mixed bag. It's good and bad. I can see their points why they're saying that their character customization in terms of what their facial features are, those are really lacking. There's not a whole lot to that. And while I agree, you are going to be spending most of your time with looking at the back of your character's head, so I really don't mind. My character doesn't speak in any of the cutscenes as well. Your character is one of those silent protagonist types. I'm sure that was just for saving money. They didn't want to hire another voice actor to read all this damn dialogue and stuff like that, like they did for the Ghost, for Peter Dinklage, and later Nolan North in Destiny. That just seemed like if a controversy came up where they had to replace the voice actor for whatever reason in the future DLCs, it's better just to have your character not say anything and just be told what to do by people. People don't get that, though, when they think, like, oh, my character doesn't talk at all, he's just some mute guy. Well, there's a reason behind that, and it's for saving money, and it's so that later iterations of or later expansions of the game down the road don't get subjugated to stuff like that, like Destiny had to, where they would blame a voice actor for the poor performance of the game or whatever. And right now, when Division came out, I know Destiny's on the backslide right now. They're with the restructuring at Bungie. They're losing their CEO and them having to ask the players, "Oh, are you guys still playing Bungie?" Or not still playing Bungie, but are you guys still playing Destiny a year later? If you're not, why did you guys stop playing? Like, the fact that they're having to ask, that they waited an entire year to ask players this one question in a public manner and not through their forums and stuff like that is very odd. I'm feeling that they're probably grasping at straws, and they're just looking at what the Division is doing right now, and they're trying very as good as they can to implement it into their own game. Good God, the guy with a baseball bat is actually beating the guy with a gun. Ooh, two guys with a baseball bats. Holy crap. See, again, like, stuff like this in the Dark Zone, where people are just shooting, like, it's literally everybody shooting at everybody. Come on, dude. Wow, you're actually beating him with your gun, with your fists, and you're winning. Are you gonna win? Come on. Here, I'll just even the odds. I'm on. What? You're coming after me now. Come on, buddy. Blah, blah, blah. And the character customization, voice acting, I'm okay with that. I don't mind that there's a distinct lack of it. I know that my character's going to be mute. I'm not going to be seeing a lot of his face anyways. It'd be kind of odd for me to get really in-depth to customization like I do in some of my RPGs, only for my character to never be seen. Which is something that was really weird in Destiny. I don't know why they even bothered with giving you an option to customize your character, where if you play it right, you'll never see their face outside of just a couple of cutscenes. And that's literally it. Because you can just have the option to have your helmet always on, and you'll never see your character's face. And I just was always confused. I'm like, why let me customize my character if it's just like, if I could just given the option to always have my helmet on? I don't know. In this game, there's not exactly helmets. You can have helmets, but they're cosmetic. They're not really, they don't do anything for your stats. People also forget that this game has, well, your gear customization on top of having your just outfit customization. And I hated that always in Destiny, where my look and the way I wanted my character to look was always tied to the gear I was wearing at the time. It sucks having to wear... What the hell is happening? Connect, ladies and gentlemen. Goodness. It sucks that in Destiny, you have your loot is tied to the way your character looks, and it's always been, it's like ingrained in its DNA. They can't change it in any way, where if you want this, I mean, you can like some of the lower, I know I had this problem where I would actually like and prefer some of the low-level gear just because it looks interesting. It looks much more interesting, but I have to get rid of it at some point because I just, like, if I want to progress my light level, I have to get rid of it. In this game, not so much. The only real things that matter to your customization in this game is going to be your backpack, it's going to be your face mask, it's going to be your knee pads, it's going to be your gun holster, it's going to be your gloves, it's going to be your bulletproof vest. Like, these things, you'd be like, huh, that doesn't sound like a whole lot. Well, it's not supposed to be a lot, because they don't want your, if you want your specific look of a character not to change throughout the entire game, you can basically look the exact same that you, from the start of the game to the end of the game. And most people give the game a lot of negative reviews for that, but I mean, that's something that I've always wanted in Destiny. I always wanted to keep my characters look the same and just have some really small superfluous things to change throughout the later levels. And the way that Destiny makes it, they're just like, well, if you want your character to ever evolve and to ever change, you're just gonna have to just, you know, upgrade better equipment and stuff like that. And I hated that I had to, like, get rid of my look for my old characters, because I used to wear some of the green gear before the restructure of the Taken King came out. I used to wear some of the low-level green gear. At the time, it didn't have any tie to my light level. I could even ascend it too, and make it better to the gear that's, like, to my rarer and exotic gear that I was wearing at the time. But in this game, you can keep your same look and feel of your character the entire time, and people just forget that. I don't get how people can forget that.
Cargo extraction initiated.
goodness. I just find it very odd that in people's reviews, they don't talk about what this game does great. They only focus on its negatives and how it's so same feeling throughout most of the game. But I throw it up to the fact that this is a city. It's very systematic. There's not going to be a whole lot of diversity in terms of the missions you have to do to grind out your command center, because every neighborhood's the same. Every neighborhood needs to have their water turned on. Every neighborhood needs to have their power turned on. Every neighborhood has to have their supplies allocated and distributed, and sometimes you have to disrupt the occasional arms dealer or assault in a stronghold. That's the same throughout the entire city, but that's because it's a city. It's not some sort of wasteland. I would be more concerned if it was a wasteland on Mars or a moon, and I was stuck doing the same thing over and over again like you have to do in Destiny. Then that makes no sense. I'm wondering why there isn't special and specific type of loot grinding missions for each specific area, even though they are all different. Holy crap, I'm stuck in between like two fighting groups of enemies. That's when I'm going to start throwing issues at, like, why am I doing the same type of, like, questing and loot grinding missions on Mars when I'm doing the same thing on, like, the Dreadnought? Makes no sense. I also care... I know I'm probably in the minority, but I actually give a shit more about what I'm doing in this game. Way more than I ever thought of doing in Destiny. Like, I care more about my character in here. He doesn't talk, but I care way more about what he's doing in here. In Destiny, a lot of people like to say that there is a story, but it's hidden away on a lot of, like, the outside lore, and the Taken King definitely tries their best to, like, add lore to the story, but, I mean, it's very obvious that they just didn't bother with that. They just had a big issue with it at the very beginning, and that they just couldn't get the story correct early on. But in this game, there's a concrete story. It's not like there isn't. There definitely is one concrete story in this game where you, from start A to start B, you are going to be knowing what you're doing for most of the game. The game goes out of its way to, in depth and in detail, tell you what is going on. I wish there was more cutscenes in this game. There's a couple. I think Destiny at least had a cutscene at the start and end of every single mission they did, or at least at the start. Either the start or at the end. There's some missions in this game where there's neither. And that kind of sucks, because it almost feels like you can almost be mistaken for doing a side mission for not having one or the other. And yeah, okay, we'll knock it down from there because of that. Ooh, loot. I could probably break that down or sell it. Level 25, 26, easy. I don't get how people can review this game with such glaring omissions to just what it does right and what it's promised and what it's planning on doing later down the road over Destiny. I think they just people like to prefer Destiny just because there's just more to it right now than this game has, but that's because, again, this game has only been out for less than a month, while Destiny's been out for over a year, and they've only barely started getting their traction and getting their right foot forward in terms of how the game should be played. And even then, they're still having to make live updates, and some people are probably shaking their heads like, no, it's still pretty messed up. It's not, nothing's changed. Like, well, then, alright, we'll go with you then, too. In this game, it just does more. You can... What just happened? Oh, I set down my drone. A flame drone. Ooh. Maybe he's a big one. Let's try to hit this. Hey. Oh, shit. Issues have occurred, or issues have erupted. I am stuck between two fighting groups of enemies again. I think they made an update where there's just a lot more, jerks here. Dang, there's a whole buttload of you guys. Alright, you guys got me this time. I'll be back. There's also this interesting thing that just people like to complain that there's no structured PvP anywhere in the game, and that's one way to look at it. The Dark Zone's been upgraded, and it's also been patched in terms of where there is a pretty interesting PvP area, but there's no team deathmatch, there's no domination, there's no capture the flag, there's nothing like that. And that's not necessarily the worst thing in the world. I don't mind if there's not. To be honest, when I played Destiny's PvP, I only ever played like 1 or 2 modes, which was just Control, which was just playing Domination King of the Hill. I like being
Feels good. Heads up, we got more.
Yo. We're gonna have to go loud here. There's a lot of assholes here. Uh-oh. Whoa. There's a lot of dudes here. Holy crap. Goodness. We're gonna have to retreat down an alleyway. There's just too many jerks. Dang it. Probably should have done a non-live commentary about this, but screw you, dude. There's like 20 of you and 1 of me. I think you guys are just barely holding on here.
He's gonna make a break for friends. Keep a lookout for that guy. Buckets in the old town.
Ah. Am I though? You D-bag.
Let that little pig out of here.
There's also, this is a great example of how you of class customization as well. You can have, there are so many more playstyles in this game than there ever was in Destiny. I don't get how people can just glaring omissions to how this game is played so much more differently than Destiny in terms of what you can do for your class customization. In Destiny, there are specific classes for each specific type of character you're playing as, but no matter how hard you tweak them, you pretty much are going to be playing exactly the same, no matter what you do to the class. If you're playing a gunslinger, you're always just going to be having certain... You're also always going to have certain perks on at every given time. And in this game, you do have certain perks on at any given time, but they're passive perks. They don't determine your class customization. Your class customization comes down to the active talents you want to select. At level 30, you get 4 active talents out of 30 active talents you can possibly have. And it all just comes down to what type of playstyle you really want to go with. And I couldn't even begin to describe how Destiny just has just a distinct lack of class customization. They're just all the classes are so same feeling after a certain point that you'll never notice a difference unless you just switch your character entirely, which in Destiny you probably had to at some point. In this game, I'm less worried about having to restart my character. Screw you, buddy. I'm less worried about having to restart my character because no matter what, there's no point in having 2 characters or more than 1 character, because this character can be the same as my other character later down the road. I know people might restart it just because they want to play as a girl or something like that. I don't know why. There's no beneficial reason to have a second character. Maybe later down the road when there's a what's it called, like a raid or something like that, you can, like, certain like one-shot type of loot grinding where you can only do it once per week. I can see then why you would want a second character, maybe to have the ability to grind for more loot like you do in Destiny. Jesus. So there's nothing more satisfying than disrupting them when they're trying to shoot you. Having that D-bag drop the grenade down to his feet. I think each faction of character in this game also got their own proper introduction as well. While in Destiny, I don't think I was ever given a real introduction to any of the characters. I know the Dinklebot liked to talk about what the characters were at the time, like, oh, the Vex are these ancient machines and stuff like that. But I don't know. It's hard to you have to play the game in order to understand what is wrong with the game and what this game does better. What I can just break it down to is that there's just more depth to it in terms of customization, and that, for some people, is all that matters when it comes to playing this game. Most people won't want to play this game if there's not at least a decent story, and there is a story. There is a very good story here, too. It's very grounded in reality. It can get extremely dark. and it can really bust your balls if you're like, especially if you live in New York City, which you can't really relate to anything that's going on in Destiny because you don't live in that time. Here, it's very much grounded in reality. You can relate to what's going on and how people are reacting to the city being like taken over by rioters and stuff like that. And if you live in New York City and you're playing this game, you're like, dude, you're hoping that this never really does happen to your city. That would suck. I guess it would suck no matter where it happened, but... Oh no, my shield is broken. Let's toss out our flame drone. Uh-oh. Holy crap, okay. I didn't buy off more I can shoot, just more guys are spawning. Whoa, they must have made a giant change to the goddamn Dark Zone. If I didn't know any better, the Dark Zone gone through a major restructuring. Oh wait, it did in the last patch. They added a lot more mobs. They added a lot more aggressive mobs. I'm like... Screw you, dude.
Look away!
Fire drone, help me out.
Don't move. Oh my God. Reloading. Don't let up.
Goodness, my fire drone is only thing that ever keeps me alive out here. Ooh, it looks like you guys thinned each other out finally. Goodness. I'm like losing my train of thought. This is what I get for trying to do live recording instead of just recording my audio over my goddamn gameplay, but I'm just trying to focus for the time being. I care more about doing this loot grinding stuff like that. Like this was some high octane type of stuff. I care more about this type of loot farming than I ever did caring about the Destiny's loot farming. Sure, you can kill mobs out in the wild in some of the certain zones, but they don't drop anything interesting like loot. And even if it's loot that you can't use at the time because it's too high leveled or just because the stuff you're wearing at the time is much better, at least here you can there's some sort of like deviation. There's something to do with loot, and you don't have to do RNG for your loot on top of doing RNG for taking it back to the Cryptarch and having him decrypt it and hopefully getting something worthwhile out of it too. That was always a pain in the ass. You have to do RNG for your RNG for your RNG. Oh my goodness, I don't know how that ever went into circulation, but it was just a pain in the ass the entire time. And by the end game of most of Destiny 2, everyone is so same looking by the end. At least in this game, we're all same looking, but there are distinct and very subtle changes to people's ways that they look. There's just a greater depth of character looking customization than there ever was in Destiny. Even if it's something just as simple as having a different colored jacket. There's like 5 different variations of every jacket in the game, but in those 5 variations you can get like a multitude of colors. And again, that makes all the difference when you see a new jacket and you're like, huh, I want to try this on. Does it look any better than the one I'm wearing right now? Oh, it kind of does. I'll just hold on to it. I'll just wear it. No big deal. Now that we have our loot, boys, we need to get the hell out of here. Some D-bag might want to steal our stuff, and that does happen. The Dark Zone, they have upgraded the Dark Zone to the point where you can, if you really want to, you can't be that guy that goes rogue the entire time and just farms other players, and that is definitely one way to play this game now. They've changed it to the point that before it would penalize you a lot if you went rogue, and But now it's been drastically changed to the point that, yes, every player has a legitimate reason to wanting to kill you now for your loot. It's not just because they want to be an asshole. It's because they probably want what you have, and they know that if you kill them for it, or if you kill them to defend your loot, they're not really penalized all that heavily for it.
Time to break some heads off.
Ah.
Stay away from that thing!
Ah, you dropped green loot. Hey, you. He's gonna blow up in his face. Goodness, I have to defend myself. The game is fun. I like it. It's much. I'm having a much more fun time in just the 1 month I've had this game. Way more than I've had for like the last 7 months for doing Destiny. And Destiny was always a pain, grinding and stuff like that. And like while PvP areas isn't exactly a much like team deathmatch, it just adds a greater. It just adds a much more higher level of octane and adrenaline rushing thing when you find somebody else that tries to go rogue and tries to steal your stuff. There's nothing more satisfying than beating a rogue agent that tried to steal your stuff. There's nothing more satisfying than fighting multiple rogue agents and defending your loot just because they highly underestimate you. They think their strength in numbers, but if you play your character and the way you've made your character class extremely well, you can take on I've taken on at least 3 other rogue agents at any given point by myself and come out on top in the end. Uh-oh. And it all comes down to your class customization. There's just more to it, even though it's more same feeling, if that makes any sense. There's more to this game in terms of its customization, even though Destiny probably has more fantastical looking gear, the gear in this game is just, I care more about my gear in this game than I ever did in that game. There's no threat of me losing my gear in that game. Well, in this game, you have to care about every piece of gear that you have. And if you don't, you're gonna really be hurting later down in the road. Goodness.
Don't give him a chance to back that
Item extraction is go.
Goodness. Dang it, I gotta go recall one. Darn it. I was able to defend myself, but I have to now recall for an item extraction. God damn it. Uh-oh. Back over the wall. Hide. Thanks for telling me you're reloading, buddy. Oh, for another extraction.
You got a bird inbound on your position.
Goodness. I am not stuck, but I'm in a perpetual cycle of combat. Come on. I need to get... Oh, goodness. I am just now regretting over and over again of me not, of me doing a live commentary as I'm trying to play. Oh, goodness. I made a mistake. I should have just recorded some footage and then started talking. But we finally killed all the assholes out in the open. Thank Christ. Everyone's finally gone. Now that everyone's gone, I can go back to talking about why this game is a lot better than Destiny. I've had more fun defending myself from mobs and trying to extract my high-end loot and hoping to God another rogue agent doesn't show up. Way more than I ever had in Destiny, trying to grind for 2 hours in a goddamn raid to hopefully get the thing that I want. Yeah, it's all RNG here too, but I mean, I have a higher chance of scoring something worthwhile to here than I ever did there.
Extraction.
I think that the game's getting too hard of a time. You can indeed have fun with this game. There doesn't need to be always a dedicated PvP to this game. I don't mind that there's not. Goodness. Darn it, the weather effects too are... Look, this is such impressive weather effects for snow. I cannot see who I'm even shooting at this point.
Extraction complete.
Oh my goodness, the weather and the lighting effects from the helicopter almost blinded me to the point that I couldn't even see what I was shooting at. I know they're there because the Isaac targeting system just helps out, but if I didn't have this... You're like, what? The snow suddenly stopped. The snow did not suddenly stop. I'm standing in front of a building now. Well, right here, I'm getting all of it in my face.
Agent, I am inbound on your position.
Please hurry. There are a lot of assholes here that I don't really want to fight anymore. God, I keep getting more loot every time I try to extract. I'm not farming for loot. I'm just literally just trying to extract the... What the... The funny part is I'm not trying to farm for loot. I'm just trying to extract the loot that I already have. But every time I try, more guys come and try to fuck me up. Like, I'm just stuck in a perpetual cycle of combat. Oh, look at how much they're bullet spongy. But again, dude, this game can't be ultra realistic in terms of how it's structured in like, you can't have like one-shot kill weapons. This game would be extremely boring if I could kill anybody with a single round of the face. You have to play the game to understand what's the pros and cons. Pros, it's great loot, there's great story, it's great diversity, there's an incredible depth of customization that people just seem to just pass over. I don't get how, but they do. They just don't bother acknowledging it. And I think that people should acknowledge it. I don't get how they can't.
Commencing package extraction.
Go out there, and if you like Destiny and you wish that there was just more to it, and you just wish that you could just have more fun with it, I'd suggest buying this game. You don't need to buy the Season Pass. Don't buy the Season Pass if you're a little buyer's remorse. So maybe just do what I did and just, you know, do a system share with a buddy that already owns it so that you can get a copy of the game as well, and you can play it. And if you really like it at that point, then buy the Season Pass. What the hell? Give the game a shot. Don't listen to the other critiques and the other people telling you that this game is not worth your time, or they're asking you to wait for a sale drop. While you theoretically can do that, I suggest come in now. The game is only going to get better as it goes on. You do not want to jump in at the game at the very end of its life cycle to the point that the sequel's been announced, and then you're going to waste your money on this game. Don't do that. Come in, come play, and come enjoy it. There's so much more to this game than what people are saying in the reviews. There's so much depth in terms of customization. There's a great story here. There's a fantastic grinding system for loot. I'm having more fun grinding for my loot here. It always puts a smile on my face when I'm knowing like I'm taking on like 10 or 20 different assholes trying to get my stuff out of here. And there's just some sort of adrenaline feeling you get when you're fighting so many people, and you just feel like a badass. In Destiny, I never got that feeling. I just thought I was just mowing down groups of zombies and stuff like that. But in this game, I'm fighting other guys with guns, and I'm actually coming out on top. And it's, I don't know. You just have to play the game to experience it. People, if you don't give the game a chance and you're just gonna go off what anybody else is saying, oh, wait for a sale. It's okay. It's not the best game in the world. I've played better. Well, no one's gonna care that you don't play it. But if you're on the fritz about it still, and you're like watching other reviews of people talking about this game, and you're like, what? How can it be this bad? It's not this bad. People are just making glaring omissions to certain aspects of the game that make it sound bad, but when you look at it in the grander scheme of things, it's actually a very, very solid game. There's great foundation here, and they're only going to keep adding more to it as it goes on. You should come and play it if you haven't already, and if you have been playing it, no one's really going to be complaining. No one complains about this game. And you can hear proximity chat to other players, in the Dark Zone especially. Nobody's saying, oh god, I hate this game. Oh god, it's so boring. Nope. Everyone's only saying the best things about this game. The entry level for the game is not steep, but I mean, if you can get past the early levels and really get into the game where you start like grinding, and where your grinding is paid off to the point that you actually have some gear that's worthwhile. Oh my goodness, the game. I'm in combat. Oh my goodness, you're chasing me. Screw you, dude. How about now? There we go. I suggest give this game a shot. And the final score for the game for me, in my thing, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. It's a great game. It's great. There's solid foundation, and it's only going to get better as it goes on. I don't know if it's wise or not yet, but I've also made the choice to buy the season pass to get all the expansions. This game has just kept me entertained so far to the point that I don't mind sinking in another. I think it's like $20 for the expansions or for the season pass. It's not a whole lot of money. It's especially when Destiny was asking for like $30-something for their expansion. But this season pass also comes with 3 expansions, but you also get a whole lot. What's the word? It's cheaper, but you're gonna get way more content down the road. If you're playing the game, you're having fun with it, guys. You should get it. Trust me, it's fun. 7 out of 10. It's a great game.